everybody doing today? Hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody's having a good day out there. You know what I mean? No reason not to. But we're at week 2 now. That's a pretty critical week of what's going on, what's happening. Uh, Excuse me, I had to get the mic situated right quick. It's the biggest trap week of what there is in the NFL. If you're in a survivor pool, I highly recommend you take it easy. There's a lot of overconfident analytics that go into this week, so just be careful with that. And here we go. Let's invite Big Amo to the show. How's it going, man?
Hey, everyone. How are we all doing?
Good, good. Did you have a good week, dude?
I've had an amazing week. What a fantastic. Good to have the NFL back. We've been quite profitable as well in our first week. And hopefully it'll carry on.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. It's week 2 is tricky. I was just telling the audience, if you're in a survivor pool, I recommend, and you have to take a mandatory week off, take off week 2. If you made it to week 2, just take it off. Let a lot of the pool eliminate itself, and then you kind of get 2 weeks of tape, 2 weeks of coaching, 2 weeks of injuries, 2 weeks of preparation before you just go all willy-nilly on this week 2. And my experience is very difficult to gauge. I think it's more difficult to gauge in week 1. But we're going to do our best for you guys, so keeping that in mind, we did look at some bets. I was able to look at some film, and let's take a look and see what we can do here. We're going to bring up Big Amos, bring in these wonderful slides. Let's see here. Let's see. Having a little technical difficulties. Think I can get it fixed though. There we are.
Well, so just go over our mantra while you're waiting.
Absolutely, absolutely, my man.
Well, me and Iggy have set aside a bankroll, which is from disposable income that we have. So puts us in a position where we don't put our families or our lives in any sort of peril, because we have put aside a certain amount of money, which is our bankroll. We've got 30 units, and we work in a units just so that me and Iggy have different levels of disposable income. We have different amounts of money, and we stake differently. But so we don't expect you to be any different either. So you put on what you can afford and what you want to try and win and leverage back. We're not going to get winners all the time. So we have a bankroll which effectively gives us more freedom. And then we will also have multiple books, and we also record everything so that we know what we're doing right and what we're not doing right. So we're using disposable income. It's very important that. So even though we had some very good wins last week, that's just good to chip away at our original bankroll that we saved up, and then we'll reward ourselves further as we go down.
Yeah, excellent points. I just having trouble bringing up the screens. Like I said, I got a different browser today. Hey, week 2. I'm trying to tell you it's chaotic. You plan for it. I expect this to happen in your fantasy football teams in your betting screen. It's not allowing me to bring up a pop-up on Firefox, and I don't know why, man. So
that's probably why, because it's a Google slide. No worries. Yeah. We can still discuss it.
Yeah. Bringing up the first bet, we have anytime touchdown score, Devontae Adams. This is the highest over-under line. When I was listening to Sirius XM last night, these guys were talking about this game and how you should have all these guys in your DFS lineups. So you're right on par with that, man. Let's hear it.
Well, it's anytime touchdown scorer, Devontae Adams, and the Raiders to win, which comes in at evens, which is plus 100. And I've got it for a 1 unit. So we're going back to what worked for us last year very well, especially on the sort of the larger handicaps. So we've got a team that we possibly already generally know because we should win. But Devontae Adams was amazing last week. He had the most targets by anybody across the whole of the NHL. including Cooper Cup, and all Stafford doing was hoik Cooper Cup, hoik Cooper Cup. That's all he was doing. But Deontay Adams was everywhere. He proved what a very, very, very good wide receiver he already is, and he's probably Carr's main weapon. So I can't see that changing too much this week. And they're playing against the Cardinals, and the Cardinals gave up 4 touchdowns through the air last week. They were atrocious. I can't. It's going to be a shootout this game, so I like the chances of it potentially being. Well, Devontae Adams will probably score, and I like the odds of the fact that may as well get it. I like the Raiders this week. Just combine them both for 1 unit.
1 unit at even odds. So yeah, you gotta like that, man. Raiders and Devontae Adams. Let's see here. Then we have a teased bet. It's coming in at -116, or it was. I don't think the lines moved too much on them. I do believe both these teams are going to win the game. In fact, for my pick six predictions, I picked both of these teams to win the game. So you have Dolphins at +8.5, and then your Washington Commanders are at +7.5. How do you feel about it? Can you hear me? Can you hear me out there? No.
No, I think I've changed something. You keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, it's so it's right now. It's got Commanders at 8.5, and we have Dolphins +8.5 at -225, and then Washington Commanders at +7.5 at -350. So when you combine those, they're coming in at -116. It's a dirty teaser. I think the Dolphins are going to win that game. I'm in a group chat. I got to give a shout out to Jordan Rayans, and he told me that the Dolphins. I didn't really think the Ravens had a great defense, but I didn't think the Dolphins were as good as maybe he was telling me they were. And I went back and looked at film, and Tua just is amazing, dude. I've been knocking him his whole career, but he does have some good laser accuracy. He threw it into Waddle and some tight throws, and he just has so much around him. Waddle, Hill, Edmonds, Mostert. There's just so much around him. Wilson, even. I mean, and there's a decent defense over there. I think Lamar's going to put up points against the Dolphins, but I think the Dolphins in turn will be putting up points against the Ravens. I mean, they have. I told you guys last night. Kyle Fuller's out for the Ravens. Marcus Williams, or not Marcus. Let me look at my notes real quick. Excuse me. I don't want to give the wrong name. Marlon, yeah, Marlon Humphrey. Marlon Humphrey also is questionable, didn't practice much this week. So there's an opportunity.
Well, most of the secondary is completely questionable. Marco, yeah.
Yeah,
Humphries is a late time decision. Peters is possibly not out, and they've already lost one of their other main slot cornerback, so they could be going out there with cornerback 4, cornerback 5, cornerback 6. This is the reason why I like this sort of side for the Dolphins. I've also got Tua was very lucky last week with putting up points, I suppose, but if anything, I think +8.5 is more than enough for Lamar. And what was looking at Lamar, I love Lamar. I think he's brilliant, but there's a lot of chatter in the media at the moment because he hasn't signed his contract. He's not going to run, which was kind of proved last week that because he didn't hardly run at all, and they had no notable running backs. They might get Dobbins back, and he might be desperate for them. So I just think the +8's a good start, especially because the Dolphins have got such a good defense. And I don't think it's going to be a very particularly high scoring game. And if we're having 8.5 point start, that's a bonus. And on the other side, the Washington Commanders against the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions are going to battle hard. They're going to keep on going, keep on going, keep on going, like they did last week. Keep on going, keep on going, keep on going. So it's going to be close all the way up to the end. And I think Washington will match them as well because their secondary for the Lions is atrocious. And even though Carson Wentz has got 4 or 5 interceptions in him per game, I still think he's going to put enough points up. So this could be a complete shootout. And again, if we have the +7.5 to start with, it's a real good start. So that's at -116, and I've got that for 1 unit.
Nice. Yeah, that's. I believe with both of them, like I said, I think the Commanders will probably win this game. Too bad secondaries in that game. Cameron Curl could be out for the Commanders as well. So Jared Goff's doing pretty good, man. He's got some really good rhythm. So I like this tease bet. even though I think they both can win. Moving it on, man. Just the tackle prop for the day. We do have two that we combined. So Anzalone for the Detroit Lions. You just heard Big Amo talk about how many times Wentz is going to throw the ball. Gibson's going to be in there. And I went back and looked at the Eagles Detroit Lions game. He's everywhere. I mean, he may not be getting all the tackles, but he's like there. He's always where the ball is, which is what you want. And the Lions are so completely shallow at interior linebacker. There's no reason he can't get over 5.5 tackles plus assists. You move that over to Wufanga, who came in for the 49ers, played in a super rainy game against the Bears. Guess what the 49ers have this week? Super rainy game from the leftover tsunami or typhoon. I can't remember. Alaska's getting like record decade, like, the best, like the most intense kind of shores, beach erosion. That, like, the tail end of that storm is coming into North California. So it's going to be a nasty, windy, rainy, sloppy game. And Wufanga already proved that he can come in and lay the wood. And I don't think he's relinquishing that starting safety role. So he's at 5.5 tackles plus assists. Keep in mind, make sure your books are giving you the 1 point per assist too, not half a point. Just make sure you have that going on. I got that at plus 190 right here. We got this at plus 183 on the hill. And I placed 1.5 units on it. Be careful with parlays. Most of the time we back off. But I just thought these lines were kind of ridiculous for what I saw on tape. And if they play just the same similar style, the same scheme, should hit relatively easy.
Plus safeties last week were higher percentage than linebackers in tackles.
Yep. Yeah, they were.
Was it sort of 9 of 15 or 10 of 15? I sent that over to you, didn't I?
Yeah.
At 9 of 15, we're in the top 10 tackles. So everything was sort of congested there. So that's a very good bet.
Yeah, absolutely. Loving the safeties, the interior linebacker, like I said, no depth. Wufanga should be good for it. He looks like he's going to be a monster. So, like I said, I'm taking it. It's almost double money, so you got to like that. 2 games, get to cheer on. All right, man. So here we are to the Joe Mixon, James Conner, and Javonte Williams Anytime Trouble Parlay Running Back Special, coming in at amazing odds.
Yeah, I really like this. This is it's running for half a unit. So we've got 3 notable attacking threats for each of the teams. We've got Joe Mixon, who I think can comfortably score against the Dallas Cowboys this week. I think they're going again. It all depends on how Micah Parsons does, I suppose, because last week Joe Burrow offensive line got absolutely destroyed. Micah Parsons might have a field day this week. Possibly shout out for any time sack for him if you can get any decent odds for him. I'm sure he'll be probably quite low. But Joe Mixon was utilised a lot last week. A lot. He did over 25 carries. He'll be taking up most of the heavy lifting to try and get sort of chase into the end zone whenever he can. So Joe Mixon is quite short. I think it's quite obvious that he's going to look for that sort of a threat. James Conner is the red zone threat for the Cardinals at the moment. You've got no Nuke anymore. You've lost the young lad this week. Can't remember his card now. What's the young lad?
For the Curse.
The Cardinals.
Curse is out, the safety. Oh, Dak Prescott. Okay. You're talking about the quarterback. I thought you were talking about.
No. I'm talking about the Cardinals and the young lad. Young wide receivers out. Anyway, so they've only got Ertz and probably Hollywood Brown. But I think James Conner's, if anything's around the 10-yard line, he's going to run it in, and he's got a very good record. He got over 15 touchdowns last year, so I think he's pretty solid for a anytime touchdown scorer. And I've gone with Javonte Williams. Now, I know this won't please you too much, Iggy, because I know you're a big Mo fan. But Javonte Williams last week did his complete share, his split. And he also got 3 red zone targets for passing last week. So I think I'm not saying he's going to be the main red zone threat, but I think he's possibly going to be there or thereabouts. And I think the Broncos should run all over the Houston Texans this weekend. It shouldn't be too much of a problem. And hopefully they'll let Russ throw it down a little further down the field. But I'm not too bothered, to be honest. If he keeps on targeting Williams, Anytime touchdown scorer, that's a bonus. So all three of them, that's Joe Mixon, James Conner, Javante Williams, is at plus 536. That's half a unit.
Man, yeah, that's really good actually. I mean, that's if you can just hit on that bet, it covers so much more. Three legs are hard to hit, and I do want to remind people that there's a lot of times a boost. Like I use points bet. If you're not using that um, specifically in Colorado, there's a lot of good deals on it. But they give you a daily parlay boost. You get one standard parlay where you combine just like what Big Amo did, three events from different games together, and they have one boost for a same game parlay every day. So if you want to build the parlay and you have points bet, I recommend going and checking that out as well because you'll get, I think it's like 10%. So that's at plus 536. So you get another 53 on top of that. Almost becomes 600 at that point. So that's pretty good odds. Just keep in mind, parlays are fun. A lot of people love building them. I love building them. So I just keep in mind with that. I heard an interesting concept before we get too far into the bet. It's called level betting. Have you heard that?
No.
So it's like a question was proposed. Do you bet more on the confidence in the game? Like if you feel really confident about a game, do you bet on it? Or do you just always keep your betting the exact same unit, kind of thing? Uh, and this guy said that he, longtime bettor, he said, I used to track. He said, I'd give like, say, all right, I'm going to allocate 60% in this game as for my confidence, 70%. He's like, most of the time I kept it between 60 and 40. He's like, that was basically the scale, 10 up, 10 down. And he said that he found that the ones that he bet more confident on compared to the ones that he didn't have as much confidence on, the the hit is about the same, which is something we kind of bring up to this show. Professional gamblers, professional bettors, they hit at about a 54, 55% success rate. So it's always going to level out. Be careful going super confident into a game because like if you like, for example, people feel really good about something, they might lay a DFS bet on it, a wager on it, and then something on like either the over or under, dependent. Now you've put three bets on one thing, and we kind of became a little guilty of that last week. And I did specifically betting on the Broncos. Um, and I just want to remind people out there, don't if you already have one bet, you're feeling confident about it per se. Don't necessarily lay another bet on it in a parlay or something like that. Try to keep our bets separate. Let's try not to degenerate out too much on bets and try to stay focused and try to keep a win. I think it's important to try to remind everybody about that. And I heard it called level betting, meaning you just put the same unit. You're not putting more units. Like you're not putting necessarily a triple unit on this game just because you think that this is the absolute outcome of it. It's better to spread that maybe around and cover your tracks, is what they said. I don't know. I'm going to keep an eye going forward. It's hard for me to watch film and be like, man, he's going to get burnt this week. Like, it's not on our bet chart, but I feel really good about Marquise Brown. He's a great zone. He's a great zone wide receiver. The Raiders are going to play zone. They're going to be without Denzel Perryman. They're banged up in the secondary. So I think Hollywood Brown is going to torch that secondary. I think he had a bad game, so his line dipped. I got his line at 59. I think it's already up to 62, 63. But like you mentioned, a banged up Ertz, the rookie or the young guy, Dortch, I think is his name. He led the team in targets last week. AJ Green looks ineffective out there, so I do think Hollywood Brown has a chance to have a good bet. Just to say that on another point, but I'm not going to put it in a parlay. I don't think I'm starting him in DFS, but I am putting that out there on as well. Bringing it back to Roquan Smith tonight. Got another tackle prop bet. I love it's coming in at plus 105. So I laid a unit on it, and it's 9.5, which is a really high number. But Roquan Smith is going to be the best athlete on the field every time he's on the field. I don't care who the running back is across from on the other side. I don't care who the wide receiver is on the other side. I don't care who the quarterback is on the other side. It's he's the best athlete on the field when he's on the field. That's the bottom answer. And AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones are going to get a heavy, heavy dose. Either some people think the Packers are just going to blow them out. The bookies tend to think that the Packers are just going to blow out the Bears. I don't believe that. I think it's going to be much closer. But either game script is going to favor Roquan Smith because the Packers are going to try to control it if it's a close game. Guess what? That's a lot of A.J. Dillon. That's a lot of Aaron Jones. If they're way ahead, they're going to run it to eat up the clock because they're way ahead. So Roquan Smith at 9.5 tackles plus assists. I think that's an amazing opportunity for us to get on. And it's at plus. They put it pretty high. Like I said, that's a pretty high tackle plus assist line, but I do believe in him. Do you have any thoughts on that before we kind of go to the next bet?
No, I like that. I like Roquan Smith. He was one of the top tacklers anyway last year. I think he was averaging around sort of about 10 to 11 per game. And I think Green Bay are probably going to run it quite a lot. And there might be a little bit of unders and dink and dunk from Rodgers. So yeah, he's going to be active and involved anyway.
Yeah,
I like that.
Guy. He's always going to be the guy for them. And then we got another anytime touchdown. It's a doubler. You want to talk about JT and Saquon?
That's your bet, my friend.
No, I have Saquon in CMC because that's a special on William Hill because they're playing against each other, and their anytime touchdown score is they boosted it on the Hill for me at least to 230, and they're coming in way negative odds. So I did take that. That's the same game. That's the cool thing about that game. There's a guy that's telling us to bet heavy on Barkley. He's saying nobody can. He said he plays multiple double bets. Somebody's telling you to do that, and they're a professional bettor. I'm gonna I looked at that, and then I could see that I could get the CMC touchdown. I mean, Baker Mayfield looked awful. I mean, you could argue that Baker Mayfield was the reason they lost that game. He did. The defense played well. There was a point. Baker Mayfield fumbled 3 snaps or something like that. There was 2 or 3 snaps he just fumbled. That's just inexcusable when you're a professional NFL quarterback that's had practice with your center. That is inexcusable. Won a game, okay, that's bound to happen. There was one point he did so much, CMC just knocked him out of the way, picked up the ball, and ran for 9 yards. I don't know if you saw that at all, but it even showed that on Red Zone. I was like, man, what is going on back there? It wasn't a fumbled delivery. It was it got snapped to Baker. He dropped it again, and CMC just had enough. He was basically get out of here, and just picked it up and took off running with it. So if Matt Rule has any sense at all, he's going to use CMC like a dog because they can't really afford to go 0-2 with Baker Mayfield as their starting quarterback. That's my thoughts on it.
Sounds good. It sounds a good bonus, good boost as well. Barkley was exceptional last week. I do worry about their offensive line though. Burns might be able to get at him.
They might, yeah. That's I don't know. That's.
But I think Barkley's good he's a dual threat, isn't he? So he's good for a pass catching back, and he's also a good runner. So the only thing that's possibly going to stop him there is going to be injury. Let's hope that's not the case.
Yeah, those Barkley and CMC. That's the biggest. That's the biggest best ball risk that you could combine. If you had CMC and Saquon Barkley as your running backs, I mean, you're playing with fire there, my friend. But
we got very good odds there.
Yeah. It was plus. Yeah, they boosted it. Once I saw it was boosted, I was like, that's worth the wager because I believe in them because I think their quarterbacks are awful, and I think that if they're creative, I mean, both those backs are pass catching backs plus between the tackle runners. So there's plenty of opportunity there for that. And the defenses are kind of mediocre for both of those. I mean, the Giants held Henry in check, but I didn't go back and watch that game, but I'm just not, they look like they tried to pass quite a bit in that game, even though they were up at one point over 10 points. So they need to figure it out over there offensively, what the heck they're doing. But to bring it back to the Panthers and the Giants, I think that they're going to have to use their running backs if they want to win this game, point blank and simple, Is there any other bets you got that you want to talk about? We got about, 4 minutes or so, 5 minutes.
Well, I've got my other show up, which I've got over 5 different bets on.
Nice.
On that, I've got 3 of my doubles, which I was quite profitable with last week. Got nearly 6 units of profit. And I've added a couple of others as well. I've added 2 parlays to it. So it's hopefully, with the ones I've got here today, which is 2.5 units, I've got nearly 10 units on in play this week, and which is a little bit more than I want. But we'll keep trucking, and we'll hopefully get knock down this bankroll and give ourselves some nice rewards.
Yeah, there's some crazy spreads out there. I took some of these 10-point spreads. I'm not sure Denver's can cover 9.5 against Houston. I'm not sure San Francisco can cover 9.5 against uh, Seattle, even though Seattle has. I mean, I don't know. I say that, but Seattle's missing two of
I
its
do.
key
I think San
secondary.
Francisco will roll.
You do? I mean, I just think the weather's gonna. It's gonna be last week all over again. Uh, it's gonna be that bad of a storm, I think. Uh, but Trey Lance, he's gotta do well this game because he's playing against a really bad defense. But you never know. The weather's a big part of it, dude. Weather affects everything from linemen to how much separation wide receivers can get. Usually, it benefits the running back. That's the only person it kind of benefits because he has enough momentum built up to while others are still sliding around in the grass and the mud. He's got enough momentum usually to generate some points. But it's going to be a nasty game. Um, but Trey Lance could do really well. We'll see. But that's 9.5 point spread they got to cover. They barely got that many points last week. And then Atlanta at the Rams. I think Atlanta is going to go in there and surprise the heck out of the Rams. 10 points. I don't think the Rams don't have a defense to cover 10 points, man. Uh, Ramsey's going to be used all over the place. Is he going to get burnt again? Likely. I think he's going to get caught on again several times. The Rams are in trouble, and I think that Atlanta's definitely got that 10-point spread covered. I think I laid a treble on that on a 0.25 unit bet because those are crazy spreads. 10-point spreads. We're not going to be getting 10-point spreads in about 6 weeks. That's all going to come to an end. So take advantage while you can.
Well, I've been looking at sort of really high-priced anytime touchdown scorers, and there's a lot of very good ones. There was over 60 touchdown scorers last week, and most of them were plus odds if you get them. So it's just a case of sort of sieving through and finding a few that might work. I've got a provisional one. I've not put it down as an official bet, but I have staked a little bit. And check this out and the theory behind it. Okay, so Travis Etienne to score anytime touchdown scorer. The Jaguars are last week. Travis Etienne was completely wide open and was at the end zone at his mercy, but Trevor couldn't find him. And then a little bit later, he actually was wide open again, and he dropped it, which was unfortunate, really. But it means that he's getting into position, and they're also looking for him to be quite close as a catching back to score a touchdown. So I like Travis Etienne, and then if you combine him with Naheem Hines. Now, Naheem Hines has come on my radar because Pittman's out. So the Colts have got literally no one to throw to. So Naheem Hines last week had 2 receptions in the red zone. He was leading red zone target for the Colts. So obviously he's got a little bit with Matty Ice there. So I was thinking if he can get in there as well, and also Naheem Hines, that's 10-1, my friend. 10-1.
That's incredible odds. Excuse me. Yeah,
That's
that's
ridiculous odds.
I just read something. If somebody gives you basically that 1,000-to-1 odds, you place a bet on it. You place a wager on it because if it hits, it just covers so much ground. I mean, yeah,
Well,
I've seen that rhetoric going around with Hines. A lot of people are pumping him up. So I didn't when I watched that game. I didn't watch the Colts. I was watching the Texans defense. So I needed to go back and look at that. But they were definitely keying up on Kruger Hill. That's the reason he had 18 tackles wherever he was going. Matty Ice was like, oh, you know. So they'll have to find that against the Jags, which they probably can. They don't have the greatest linebacker core. That game's going to be interesting to me. From a money line perspective, I stayed away.
it's one of those. It's almost the trends. There's a couple of them this week in there that the Jags have won every game against the Colts once being at home for the last 4 or 5 seasons,
Set six.
regardless of who's been playing. And also the same with the Saints. against in the regular season. They own the Brady's books, so it's quite interesting
Yeah,
in
last
those
night.
regards to see how those two sorts of pan out. I mean, the Saints versus the Bucks game is just injury riddled. I don't want to go anywhere near it, to be honest, because we don't know who's going to be playing, who's going to be starting,
Leonard
and
Fournette.
has he made it yet? I'm still waiting on him because I've got him in a couple of my lineups. I need to make sure if he's fit or not.
I think they said he's good to go. He's the only one I really trust. I don't trust any of the receivers this week. I mean, how can you?
Well, Julio was out as well. He did play well last week, though, Julio. But Julio has been questionable as well.
Yeah, it's
And
an interesting.
Godwin's definitely out. So that leaves Mike Evans again. And Mike Evans versus Latimore it's well documented how poor he has played against him. So they're going to have to change the strategy a little bit. Maybe we're going to see more two tight end sets, try and go that way. But I don't think that will. Well, we'll see how it gets on with. Neither of them should be able to rush because both of them have got rush defenses, top quality ones. Even though the Saints gave up nearly 200 yards last week.
Right. Yeah, man. It's going to be an interesting match. It's a division rivalry. Those things can go anyway. And I picked the Saints to win the division, so I got to stand by my guns. But yeah, anything you'd like to say before we close it out, my friend?
No, all's good. Everyone enjoy themselves, enjoy the games. Be
Yeah.
sensible when you're betting. Follow our mantra, and let's keep these winners rolling in, Iggy.
What's the YouTube again? Tell everybody where to find the YouTube.
I'm semi-pro better. What I'm going to do, I'm going to try and link it to this video, and if not, I'll try and link it to the next ones coming up.
Oh, that sounds good, man.
But like and subscribe this channel. This will be good, and then let's get everyone else jumping on our winners.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. It's fun to read on touchdown. So, all right, guys, we'll have a great night. We got fantasy football reminder coming up really soon. Remember to check your lineups, check those injuries. Make sure you got everything lined up if you're in the fantasy football world. There's no point in no point rolling out a team and handicapping your opponent. That's never good in this fantasy life, no matter what the sport is. All right, make sure you sign up to the Patreon, sign up to the YouTube, just subscribe, man. There's a lot of great free stuff out there as always. Let's have a great and successful week. Take care of yourself today and have fun. Bye.